Hi there and welcome. This is Jennifer McGuire and I'm glad you're here. Today I am sharing with you 4 ways to add clear elements to your cards. Acetate, or as I like to also call it, clear paper, is something fun to use on cards because it's very unexpected and there are fun things that you can do with it, fun techniques. I'm going to share 4 ideas and 4 cards with you today. Let's start with this first card here. This is actually a clear card. I'm going to share tips for stamping on clear cards. I'm using a new product from Mama Elephant called the Dog's Woof stamp set. They have come out with stamp sets like this in the past that have cats and snowmen. Well, now they've got dogs for all the dog lovers out there like me. I think this is a really fun stamp set that you can build up in many ways. I went ahead and stamped it on some white cardstock and colored it with Copic Markers. I didn't do anything fancy. You could use any kind of coloring you would like. And I'm using the coordinating die to go ahead and cut it out. You really could cut this out by hand because it's pretty simple, but I went ahead and used the coordinating die. Now you'll notice my coloring didn't reach all the way to the bottom, so I just went ahead and trimmed a little bit extra off the bottom. I'm also cutting a piece from white cardstock using that same coordinating die, so it's the exact same shape and size. Now for this card, I'm using my first favorite acetate product that I recommend, and this is Hero Art's Acetate Clear Cards. There are several in a pack, and it also comes with white card inserts and the envelopes. These are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and super thick. They're perfectly clear and they come folded, so you don't have to worry about getting a good score line. This is such a great product. I've used it many times over the years, and I will link to a few videos that I've done using it. Very thick. I've never found acetate that nice before. Now to create this card, I'm gluing my little doggy piece right onto the front bottom of that acetate card. You'll see some green marker on that acetate. I was just testing out some coloring on it, so I'll be covering that up. So I've glued my doggy onto the front of that clear card. Now this other white piece, I'm going to put adhesive on the front of it. Then I'll glue that right up against the back of my colored doggy piece. This will be inside of the card, and it'll allow me to cover up the adhesive so it looks nice and clean when you open the card up. It also offers a little bit of stability too. I had to trim a little bit off the bottom of that, and now the front of our card is ready. However, we need to make sure that we have something on the inside also, so we can write our message there. So I cut a thin strip of white cardstock. This is about 1 3/4 inch. I'm putting some adhesive on it, and I'm actually doing this on 2 pieces. One will go on the inside of the card, one will go on the back of the card. So I'm gluing the first piece right onto the bottom inside of the card. This is where our greeting will go, where we can write our own little personal message on it. It's not much room, but I usually don't write a ton on the inside of my cards, so I thought this would work okay. Now the other piece I'm going to glue to the back of my card. This will hide the adhesive on the other side and also give me a place where I can stamp my hand stamped by Jennifer stamp or whatever you stamp on the back of your card. And again, it gives it more stability. But remember that this clear card is super thick. It really doesn't need anything else, but we just need some spots to write our messages. So there you can see the front of the card, the inside of the card, and all of our adhesive is hidden. There's something on each side of the card. I also used an extra little doggy image that's included in that stamp set and a little card with a heart on it. And I stamped that on the inside, and I'll color it to match the front of the card. Next, I wanted to stamp a sentiment on the front of that acetate on the front of the card. Stamping on acetate can be tricky, but I have some tips for you. Now, Mama Elephant came out with the Scripty Notes stamp set, the one on the left, a couple months ago, and it's a fantastic set. It was on my favorite things list of 2017. They recently came out with the Mama Elephant Scripty birthday stamp set, which you see on the right. In there is a sentiment that says, "Yay, happy mail," and I'll be using that today. I wanted to show you both of these sets because they're wonderful sets. Now stamping on acetate is very easy if you use the right ink. I am using my MISTI stamping tool simply because I wanted to demonstrate a few things, but you can use an acrylic block if that is all you have. I'm using StazOn Black Ink for this. This is a great ink that dries nicely on acetate. You can also use the white. That one works great too. Now I need to re-ink mine, but I can't find my re-inker. StazOn is an ink that needs to be re-inked often. So I'm going to double stamp it. Now you'll notice I didn't double stamp it very well. The nice thing about acetate is you can wipe it clean, perfectly clean, with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. I used an alcohol swab and then I just wiped it clear with a baby wipe, and it completely erases that StazOn ink. That's one of the nice things about stamping on acetate. You can wipe it clean with an alcohol swab. So here I'm going to do a better job this time stamping, and I stamped that StazOn Black ink onto my acetate card. You normally only need to stamp it once if your ink pad is re-inked nicely, but mine is pretty old and needs some re-inking. So there you have your sentiment on the front of the card. Now to clean your stamp, I do not recommend using StazOn cleaner on your clear stamps. So I instead use my Hero Arts Ultra Clean. That is safe on stamps and it works great with the StazOn ink. I would just recommend cleaning your stamp right away from that StazOn. Next, I'm going to add a few tiny little heart die cuts with some strong Distress Collage Medium. That's a nice strong adhesive. Then I'm covering those little red heart die cuts with a Tonic Crystal Glaze. This is just a clear product that'll give us some nice clear dimension and shine. So here's the final card. You can see how there's a place to write on the inside. The top portion of the card is clear. It has a lot of stability to it. It's nice and strong. And you have your floating sentiment stamped on the top. So this first idea showed how to make a clear card and also incorporate stamping. Now my next example shows how you can color on acetate for kind of a stained glass look. There are a few ways to do this, but I'll show you my favorite way today. For this one, I'm using another of my favorite acetate products. These are Hero Arts acetate sheets. These are different than the acetate note cards. The material is a little bit different. This is perfectly crystal clear, and it's perfect for shaker windows or any kind of window on your card. It comes in packs with this size or slightly bigger too. The price point is good, but keep in mind for some of these techniques like this one, you could use any recycled acetate that you might have from packaging. I just like this because it's a nice quality. I'm also using the new Mama Elephant Pretty Lovely stamp set. This is a beautiful set with some outline script words that I think are really fun and unique. I'm using my MISTI again simply because it's handy, but you can use any acrylic block or stamping tool. I'm taping a piece of that Hero Arts acetate sheet into my MISTI. When you stamp onto acetate, the stamp wants to stick to the acetate and pull it up. That's why I decided to tape it in place. I have my flower image in here, and I'm again going to stamp with StazOn ink. I'll stamp this right on to the acetate, and then I want to stamp the lovely across that. However, I don't want the stem to overlap, so I used an alcohol swab to just erase a little bit of the stem. This is something really handy that you can do with acetate. Now I can place that lovely stamp right over that open area, put it into my MISTI, and then stamp that with the same black StazOn ink. StazOn comes in many colors, but my favorite, and I think are the ones that are the most effective, are the black and the white. Now I'm going to give this a little bit of time to dry on that acetate. I don't want to heat this acetate up with my heat gun. Once it's good and dry, I'm going to flip it over and add some color with my Copic markers to the back. You could color directly on the front, but I wanted to be sure that it was completely dry, so I just went ahead and colored on the back, but you could definitely color right on the front. You want to use some sort of alcohol marker, or you could even use a Sharpie marker for this. I'm using Copic markers because that's what I have. Now I'm coloring some darker red, then going to medium, and then going to light reds. And you'll notice that every time you touch the previous color with a new marker, it will move it. So it's kind of hard to blend these. You're not going to get a perfect blend with these. Instead, you're going to get kind of a stained glass look. So I first put some color down. Then I went back over all of the areas with tiny little dots. So you know I'm just kind of putting little dots kind of in the dark areas with this darker Copic marker. Then I'll come with the other colors and add dots. Something about those little dots, the way it kind of moves the ink a little bit on the acetate, gives a beautiful stained glass look. It's something completely different than coloring on plain paper. You can also remove color easily, erase it easily with your colorless blender or a lighter color. Okay, so I went ahead and put green for the stem and gold for behind the word lovely, and I set that aside to dry for a while. Once I was sure it was dry, which doesn't take long, I created a piece of white cardstock that is 5 1/4 by 4 inches, and I die cut a rectangle window from the center. I put adhesive around that window on the back of the white cardstock, and I'm laying my lovely acetate piece onto it. Next, I'm adding some double-sided tape. This is foam tape, so it has dimension. This will allow that acetate to kind of float above our card because we added that dimension in there. I have a piece of white cardstock here that's just a scrap I had left over. That's going to be a backer on this. And then I'm going to put some strong adhesive on that and glue that onto a red card. I put that white piece there so white would show through the window instead of the red card. So you can see that acetate is kind of floating above the cardstock. I could put some little gems or sequins in there and make it a shaker card, but I decided to just leave it kind of a faux stained glass look. Very simple, but it's really elegant in real life. This card doesn't take that long to do, so it's one that you could make many times. And because you can erase the stamping or the coloring with your alcohol swab, never going to make a mistake. So there you have an idea of adding color to your acetate. Next, let's talk about heat embossing on acetate. This is something I get asked about often. I'm going to share with you my favorite tips and products for that. I'm using the Mama Elephant Fly With Me stamp set. This is a new set that is just adorable, so I'm going to use an elephant holding onto a balloon and the Big Hug sentiment. I'm also using the Little Inker Designs Fringe Scalloped Rectangle die set. This is a unique die set. The one I'm using cuts a rectangle with a fun fringe scallop that has dimension to it on the outside. I went ahead and stamped and colored one of the elephants holding onto the balloon. And now I have a piece of white cardstock that is 4 by 5 1/4. From the center of it, I'm die cutting one of the fringed scallop rectangle dies from that Little Inker set. I can save that middle rectangle for another card. I'm going to use the outline piece to create a simple shaker card. Now to make the scallops on this stand up, just flip it over and press the little scallops through with your craft knife, and that gives it some fun dimension. Here I'm just laying the frame around my stamping, and inside of the area on the stamped piece, I'm adding tiny dots of strong liquid adhesive. Into the adhesive, I'm putting some little rainbow jewels so that they will stay put in the shaker card. This will really give better results. For this card, I'm using the third and final acetate product that I recommend for card making. This is the Judikins Embossable Window Plastic. What's unique about this particular acetate is that you can heat emboss on it. It can handle the heat of a heat gun, whereas the other acetates really can't. They will warp and get destroyed. This comes in small packs like you see here of smaller pieces, and it also comes in full sheets. I'd recommend either size. I usually reach for the small sheets because they're handy. Now this product really can withstand the heat. So whenever I want to heat emboss on a shaker window or anything, this is what I reach for. Be sure to use your anti-static powder tool before heat embossing on this. Here I'm rubbing my anti-static powder tool onto the embossable window plastic, and I'm stamping my Big Hug sentiment on it with Versamark ink. Next, I'll add my white embossing powder and tap the extra powder off so I get a crisp, clear image. Next, I'm making sure my heat gun is absolutely as hot as it can get before bringing it to the embossable plastic so that I don't warp it at all. If you use too much heat, you can warp it, but it's kind of hard to do. Next, I can wipe off that extra powder and it's ready to go. Here I have my window piece. On the back, I'm putting some double-sided adhesive right up against the edge of the window. I'm going to lay my acetate piece down so the Big Hugs lines up with the balloon. Then I can lay my frame down onto it, just so I can pick up that acetate on the back of my frame and I know it's positioned just right. Next, I need some dimensional adhesive on the back of this frame so we can turn this into a shaker window. I'm using Darice foam adhesive strips. These have nice dimension to them, are flexible, easy to tear, and very thin, so you can really use them for just about any shaker window. Be sure to seal all the sides with this adhesive so none of your little shaker goodies fall out. Once I have lots of foam tape on the back of here, I'm ready to create my shaker window. I'm going to take a piece of release paper that I have from some double-sided adhesive that I used in the past, and I'm putting that down onto my work surface. Laying my stamped piece right on top of it and putting some of the gems right over my stamped image at the center of that piece. Now I can lay my shaker window over it, and that release paper that's behind it keeps it from sticking onto my desk. So now I have my shaker window, and I can add this onto the front of a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch red note card. Now, because I glued some of those jewels in place before I created my shaker card, some will stay stuck up high, and not all of the gems will fall to the bottom, which is why I do it. I like when there's gems all over inside of the shaker card window. I also like that our big hugs embossed sentiment is floating above that stamped image. Embossing on acetate really gives a beautiful result on any window card or shaker card, and is another fun way to use acetate. Okay, the fourth way to use acetate that I'm going to recommend today is to use embossing folders. This is really the coolest way to use acetate. I'm using a Hero Arts acetate note card, just like I did at the beginning of the video. I've opened up the card, and on one of the panels, I'm using this Tim Holtz dot embossing folder. And I'm running it through my my die cut machine, just like I would any embossing folder. For me, I'm going to my second tab on my Big Shot. But you can use this with any die cut machine as you normally would an embossing folder. Now what happens is the embossing folder kind of warps and stretches the acetate and causes it to be white in all of the areas of the pattern. Here's another example. This one shows much more. This is another embossing folder, and you can see how distinct the pattern is. I decided to go with the simple dots for today's example. Next, I'm creating a little elephant out of these Mama Elephant dog dies. They have a bunch of different animals that they've created in the past, and I'm really excited that they have a dog now. They're very easy to assemble, and the set comes with a few different ears and such, so you can create a variety of different dogs. Here I've taken a sentiment from an older Mama Elephant Girlfriends stamp set, and I put it on my acrylic block at a little bit of an arch. I'm going to make it look like this is a collar for my dog. So I'm stamping my sentiment here, and again, it's on my acrylic block at an arch, and I can stamp that onto there with Versamark ink, add white embossing powder and heat set it, and now I have that at a little bit of a curve, which is really fun. I've taken another piece of red cardstock, and I'm holding it right behind it and cutting them both out at the same time. So I have two pieces of the exact same size. Again, this will be the collar on my dog. Since I'm sending this to my daughter in college, I wanted to personalize it by creating a little dog tag that has an F on it for our dog, Foxy. So I die cut 2 silver cardstock circles, and I'm stamping one of these iconic letters from an older Mama Elephant stamp set with the letter F in Versamark ink. I'll then add some white embossing powder and heat set it. So this looks like a little dog tag that has an F on it, and I'll make it look like it's hanging from the collar. Next, I'm putting adhesive on the little collar and adding it to the back of our little dog here. And then we can start to assemble our card. Putting lots of double-sided strong adhesive on the back of this doggy, and I'll glue them to the front of our dotted card that we use that embossing folder on. I want to be sure to use a lot of adhesive because I want it to stick nicely to the dotted texture. I'll also add that little F tag right below it so it looks like it's hanging from the dog collar. Now we want to cover that adhesive on the inside, so I die cut another dog exactly the same way, and I'm going to glue him onto the inside of the card. So this is hiding our adhesive from the front of the card. And remember how I cut 2 red pieces of the same size? This one will go inside here. I forgot to put him down first, so I got to peel up my adhesive here and tuck him underneath. And now we have a dog on the front and the inside. And I went ahead and added ears to that too, and also a little tag onto that side. Next, we need a spot to write our sentiment inside the card. So I die cut another dog head. I have adhesive facing up here, lining it up with the dog head on the inside of the card there, closing my card onto it to transfer that dog head over. And it's stuck on the inside of the card too. And finally, some more double-sided tape, another dog head, and this will get glued to the back of the card. So basically we have 4 dog heads covering all sides of this acetate card. So no adhesive is showing through. And you have a place to write your sentiment and to stamp your little hand stamped by Jennifer or whatever image on the back. Now on the front of the card, I'm adding the little doggy nose and the doggy eyes. Now in this die set, there are so many little pieces that you can use. There's a dog bone, different styles of ears, a different nose, many things that you can use. I decided to keep it quite simple, so it looks kind of like my dog Foxy. And then I went over the eyes and the nose die cuts with black Nuvo drops. This gives me some dimension and shine and really makes it stand out. Okay, so here's the finished card. You can see the doggy on the front with the collar, and you can see all those little dots that we created with the embossing folder. Embossing your acetate cards is a great way to get more out of your supplies. Now this inside dog here, I've got nothing on him, so we can write our little personal message. And on the back, we can stamp our little hand stamped by Jennifer. So this is another fun way to use those acetate cards. So if you're looking to explore the world of clear elements on your cards, I recommend the 3 products I used today: the Hero Arts Acetate Note Cards, the Hero Arts Acetate Sheets, and the Judikins Embossable Window Plastic. All are great products and will give you more ways to use the products you have. If you're interested in the supplies I used today, they're linked below in that YouTube description. On my blog, I have much more information and photos, and I'll also link to many videos that use clear elements. Thank you for spending time with me today. I hope you have a wonderful week and take care.